Hello and welcome to another video by the Laser Sports Academy. So today we're going to be having another look at phaser grips, but specifically what I call switch grips. So we covered before in a previous video the over-under grip and the double over grips, which is really good for shooting, towards 90 degrees, towards you guys, to my side in the direction it's facing and to behind me to an extent. But sometimes you need to shoot at what I call an off angle. So that would be from 90 degrees that way, or towards like your trigger hand side. So this is used in paneling, this is used just when like moving around the arena, and sometimes you just need to flick and shoot someone in that direction really quickly, like right now. So yeah, without further ado, we'll look into what I think are the three main ways that I've seen this like across the world. Just like watching like world's footage, playing myself for 10 years. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, on to the first of our switch holds. I'm going to first show off what I call a standard switch grip. So I'm going to be demonstrating that from the double overs for now and for today. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my hand sensor hand and the hand sensor side of the phaser, rotating it up and over to then face that direction, whilst the trigger hand is rotating underneath and flattening out to facilitate the rotation. So it'll look something like this, where the hand sensor hand's going up and over, the trigger hand's going down and under, and then I'm now facing at that off angle, whereas before, it was facing this direction, so now at that off angle. So I can use that when, I just needed to shoot someone quickly over there, rather than rotating my whole body, I can do a quick switch grip and swap back. Or maybe I'm holding a panel in a base or just field pointing or whatever it is, rather than, because I'm on the high side in this instance, rather than using a high hold, I might opt to use a switch hold instead, just for comfort's sake, or depending on the rules that you play, maybe you're not allowed to hold high holds as like tightly as you can in Australia. But yeah, the reason I demonstrated it from the double overs as well is personally for me, if I were to use a switch grip variation, when I was holding in double overs, I would most of the time choose the standard switch. Whilst you can use the next one, I'll show you in the next part of this video. I just find that this one just happens like very naturally, whereas if I were to use the over under grip and then try and do that switch, I first have to rotate my trigger hand and then I can do it. So it just adds that like a little bit more movement, which makes it take a little bit more time. And yeah, at the end of the day, when we're competing at the highest levels, it's all about those little 1%ers. And yeah, this is one of those little 1%ers for me. So if you were using the double over grip and you wanted to start using a switch grip to shoot at that off angle, the one I would recommend is the standard switch, where it rotates up, over, and shoots to the off angle. Alrighty, the next of the switch grips I'm going to be showing is what I call like a reverse switch grip. So it's very similar to the one we did before, except instead of the hand sensor rotating up and over to shoot that way, it is instead rotating underneath, and the trigger hand is the one that's rotating over the top. So I'm going to demonstrate that from the over-under grip, because I find when I'm in the over-under grip, this reverse flip is the one that I prefer because it's just a little bit more comfortable. But I'll demonstrate it now and it'll make a little bit more sense maybe. So the the hand sensor side is rotating down and underneath, whilst the trigger hand side's rotating over the top. And you want to be finishing these switch holds with it staying flat. So you'll notice here that like the way I'm actually holding it with my fingers is completely different to how I was holding it before. It's quite like loose. It's almost just like sitting in my hand. It's a little bit more of a preference thing. You can try and hold on. I just find it like really hard to try and hold on to the phaser like I was holding it before whilst rotating it all the way through like I need. It's no good trying to shoot someone that's down there when their chest sensors are going to be like, at least as high as mine most of the time. I'm not very short, so most people's chest sensors are above. So I need to be able to keep it flat and then even rotate it like upwards a little bit. So just to demonstrate it again, hand sensor side rotates underneath, trigger hand side rotates over the top, and we flatten out here. So similar to how the standard switch was the one I used when I was using a double over grip, I would use this reverse flip more often when I'm using an over under grip, for pretty much the same reasons, where if I were in double overs and I wanted to do this switch, you technically can do it with the thumb still on, but you see how I've ended up with my arm all the way across my chest sensor. This would incur me a penalty in like most rule sets around the world, if not all of them. So it's pretty much impossible to do this switch with a double over grip without swapping to how you would have it with an over-under grip anyway. So that's basically like how I differentiate between choosing which switch grip I'm going to use. If I've got double overs, I use a standard one. If I've got over-under, I need to use a switch grip. I'll use this reverse switch instead. So yeah, at the end of the day, like I was saying in this, like the last video we posted about handholds, this is all like preferential, you know, it's a little bit of like expression of your play style. You'll find the specific ways you like to hold the phaser, manipulate the phaser, shooting normally, using switch grips, whether you prefer to use higher holds and you never use switch grips, that's up to you. But yeah, these are just two of the ways that, well, two of the three ways, I'll show you a third one in a sec, and basically my reasoning for using one over the other. Alrighty, on to the last switch grip variation we have today. This one's quite unique, and it's probably one of the rarest ones you ever see. I've only known one player in the Australia scene to use this in like recent years, but it is very common in France, and so thusly I'm going to call it the French the French switch grip. So basically what they do, instead of doing all of these fancy switch grips, is they quite simply just pass it to the other hand. And so as a right-hander, I would have my left hand on the hand sensor, my right hand on the trigger, and they simply pass it over so that it swaps. My left hand is on the trigger and my right hand is on the hand sensor. Simple, they're very effective. You know, it's something that we don't really see in Australia, so maybe if you're an up-and-coming Australia player and you're like, I really like the look of that, I'd encourage you to give it a go. I want to see more people using this thing. It's really cool, and I think it gives you a unique perspective on the game. Whereas, you know, as a right-hander, you get very used to playing right-handed angles and stuff, like, you know, very good at holding this way. And then even when I use my switch holds, it still feels like I'm holding it as a right-hander, right? I'm just using a switch grip. Whereas with the French method, right, if I'm right-handed shooting this way and I wanted to shoot that way, my perspective changes from being a right-hander to a left-hander, which I think is just really unique and really cool. So yeah, that's the French method. I'm not very good at it, I don't use it myself, but maybe I should start trying it. Alrighty, so that concludes a look at what I think are the three main switch holds that I've seen used like around the world, just from my 10 years of experience playing like locally and like at Australasian Nationals and stuff, but also from watching like footage from the European scenes, the US scenes, worlds and stuff like that. Yeah, like I keep harping on, I think phaser holds at the end of the day are very much preferential, and there's like room for you to express your own play style and, you know, inject like your own way of doing it. So, you know, don't take any of this as like you have to be holding the phasers and switching in these ways. I very much encourage you to kind of like find your own spell in it, you know, whether you do it exactly how I did it or you have some variations. You know, it's completely up to you, and yeah, it's one of the beautiful things of laser tag. I think it's really cool seeing the different ways that people play. But we just looked at like basically like how to do the switch grips and like a quick look at like why you might use them. In future videos, we'll delve a little bit deeper into specifics on using them. But for now, it's just like a quick fun look at the different ways to do it. So yeah, if you like the video, give it a like. Have any feedback or things you want to see in the future, drop us a comment, or you know, you can contact us on the Facebook or through the Instagram or anything. And yeah, without further ado, I'll see you in the next video.